What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Collectible Conversations. Do you guys ever struggle with figuring out where to put your money, what to buy, what to invest in, how to figure out what makes a good investment, what makes a bad investment, and to tell how your investment's performing through? Sometimes we ask ourselves those exact same questions, and today we're going to answer that question and probably many more for you. I'm one of your hosts, Squeaks. This is your other host, Pokemon Radar. Radar, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy New Year, Squeaks. How are you doing in this
Happy
wonderful
New Year to you too, my friend.
2021? And does it feel any different for you?
Not really. I'm
Yeah.
not going to lie to you. It really doesn't. Although, I will say people seem to be a little more positive. Have you noticed that, like, just kind of like on social media, like people like, we're out of 2020. Let's just
I'd
hit the
say,
ground running, make
I'd
it a better
say,
year, maybe.
yeah, it's hard to be negative at this point. It was a negative year, so I think we ran out of negativity, which is a good thing. So
Yeah.
there's only one direction to go after that, and that's up. And hopefully, we see that happen in all instances. But before we start, do you have a New Year's resolution?
So I am not a big New Year's resolution guy. I think it's kind of silly to like pinpoint a date of that you want to like pick to start like putting things to improve your life. Like you should just be doing that every day and like always analyzing those things. But I did recently decide that I want to start to collect. This is actually big. So a lot of people
What?
don't know. I do not collect Pokemon. Like the cards.
Mhm.
The only cards that I collect are cards that have been given to me. Kind of, if you guys watched our last podcast episode where we talked about, can you be a collector? Can you be an investor, business owner, whatever? And I kind of said, I don't really do that because I have an addictive personality. I decided actually that I kind of want to start to maybe collect a few things. And I haven't really figured out what yet. I have kind of a few ideas, and I don't even know if I'll actually do it. I just got that inkling. I feel like maybe I'm finally in a place that I could maybe do it just a little bit, ease into it, and kind of add a few things to my collection myself. So it is something that's kind of on my radar, no pun intended. And we'll see how it progresses this year if I end up doing it, if I don't do it. But I don't know. The Rockets EXs look pretty enticing. So.
Interesting. That's good to hear. I'm happy to hear that.
How about you? Do you have any resolutions? Are you doing anything cool?
No, I feel the same way about you. Where picking a day is silly. Just go out and do it. So my New Year's resolution is to do the things that I want to do every day and keep on doing them.
Do them.
Just do them.
Are we sponsored yet?
Not yet. We're getting there.
Yeah.
No, we're not. So yeah, let's hop into the news.
Maybe that should be our New Year's resolution. Get Pepsi. Pepsi, are you out there? Do you hear?
I don't like Pepsi. I don't like Pepsi.
This is a good product. Look at that zoom. This is a good product placement.
That's a great product placement. But let's get into the news, Squeaks.
All right. What do we got? Oh, actually, I've got something. I want to start it.
Come on.
I've got it. All right.
You're the news
Mine's
guy.
not that exciting, but in Japan, it was just announced coming out. This will be what comes out in our English battle style set. It's coming out in Japan. I don't know what the Japanese set name is, but they just announced a Morpeko, which I'm going to put right here in post processing. And look at that.
He's not going
to. I won't. And a Buffalant. The Buffalant does not look like it is playable or good, but it is in the set. The Morpeko, actually, there's been some rumblings that this card could be good. The first attack on it does remind me kind of like Sableye Junk Hunt, except it's one item instead of two. Probably makes more sense as Sableye has, kind of went through the ringer. I think it might actually even be banned right now. That card is extremely good. And so, but its second attack can also do, I think, up to like 110 damage or something like that. I haven't really, hyper focused analyzed on it. But from the rumblings I've heard, it does look like it could be playable. So maybe that's one that you guys would want to keep your eye on. It's also the first instance of Hangry Morpeko that we have seen in the game. We've gotten a bunch of the, like, I guess they call it full Morpeko, the one where he's like not hangry and he's happy. We've gotten quite a few of those instances in the game, but we have not gotten a hangry one, but now we've got it. So other than that, that's pretty much all I've got, but I'm sure that you have brought more for us.
Well, I got a white girl that be boofing. I don't know if you understand that reference, but so I just wanted to throw that out there.
I don't, and I'm going to need you to explain it.
We're not going to. So, because I don't know what it means. But,
okay.
Pikachu Illustrator just sold out of Japan, Yahoo Japan, for $420,000.
Okay. Question.
Wow.
Our last podcast, there was one listed for 360. Yeah.
I don't remember what we talked about in our last podcast, but this
We talked
was
or 2 podcasts ago, or the first one.
this.
One of the podcasts we've ever discussed, we discussed the Illustrator, and it was 360. Is that correct? That was probably 2 weeks ago
Mm-hmm.
that it was listed but hadn't sold because we were discussing it in
Yes.
reference to the 900,000.
Was that the one
So
on?
that means that one did sell.
So if I remember correctly, that was the one listed on Zen Market, which would have
Yeah.
sold, and then this one was.
So it did sell. Okay.
Yes, and then this one was listed after that one sold, maybe a few days, and it sold for its asking price of 420,000.
420. Yes. So it sold for
Snoop Dogg?
400. Snoop Dogg. Okay. So it sold for 420,000. Now, question, and I think this is relevant. A lot of people don't like that I always ask this question. Was this listed by the same person that had the other one that also had the multiple others that we've seen this year?
Pokeno. Yeah, absolutely. Pokeno came out again with a 4th copy this year, 2020.
Getting closer. Brick of 100.
Getting close.
Wait, aren't we on the 5th?
Well, that from Pokeno, 4 from Pokeno, maybe 3 from him
5th
directly.
this year, 4 from okay. So we're getting closer to that brick of 100.
He had the best 2020 out of anybody in the world. That dude brought in well over $1 million or $2 million in extra cards. From what I don't actually know that, but probably. So yeah, it looked pretty nice. Bad pictures as normal, as usual, but I think a potential 9 could be in the works here. Until it's seen in person, not knowing if there's any indents or whatever. But regardless, whoever bought it, you're going to make money on it. Congratulations. Well done.
Yay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big deal, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be technically was that sold in this calendar? So technically that's the first of 2021.
Yeah. It's the second, I believe. Yeah. It's been, yeah.
Okay. So most likely the first of 2021 or very close to the end of 2020. 4th from PK Ono. The 5th of kind of the chain since the illustrators have started popping up. Wow.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I kind of figured the price would jump a little harder, seeing as how we saw the big trade for the other one. But I guess part of it could just be the source. Maybe they are not aware of that trade or whatever. And they are just kind of, it seems like they are kind of stair-stepping them about 60,000 each time ish.
I guess so. Yeah, it's kind of random, it seems. So can't really put a pin on it. I think that was private enough, that $900,000 trade was private enough that it didn't hit the person selling, I guess. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah. We don't want to draw any weird conclusions or anything like that, but it is very clear that these illustrators have been stair-stepped up about 60,000, 300, 360, 420, etc. So next one's probably going to be 480 or 500-ish. Because I do believe that there will be another one. I'm like the person that thinks there's a brick of 100, so at which point then we may start going down 60,000 at a time once we hit like 30 or 40 or 50 of them.
And that's when the Pika trophies, the 97, 98 Pika trophies will take their rightful place as the top card in the hobby.
As the top card, which by the way, I have nothing to prove a brick of 100. I just said it one day and I've stuck with it ever since. And now each one keeps coming out. It like seems more plausible. Someday people are going to think I'm like a god if we get to like 90 of them. But, which we've seen a few more trophy cards start to pop out as of late. We saw, one pop up in a Facebook group. I've had a few people, message me privately that they were people that played in the events back then that have a few, so seeing these bigger prices is kind of like pulling ones. Now, these are not the 97, 98s. This one was like a
2008.
Facebook was like a 2008, I think.
2008 PSA 8, number 1 half art Pika trophy.
There you go. Yeah. And the one that was to me was a 2012 half art number 1, and raw and, so on and so forth. But, as these prices start to get realized higher, more interest and generating that kind of thing. And now we've kind of gotten through that. Invest in everything WotC, invest in everything, modern grade everything phase. People are kind of now starting to look more towards those longer term positions and things like that instead of the flash in the pan, let's cash in on it right now. And I think that's going to draw some of those prices higher and could draw more of those cards out. We tend to not see a lot of those come out when periods are lower, but when you start seeing things like Mew Orb in a 10 hitting $60,000, even though it does come with the case,
Yeah.
that's going to pull out some of these others that historically were lower than that, but probably should be higher, and start to see some of those new realized sales.
Yeah, I think we have an interesting next couple of years with trophy cards.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I will be looking to your guidance a lot, probably. I would assume, for just to watch it. I don't really go in on those. I'm not really in the right position, I think, to do them, just with my knowledge base and kind of everything else I'm doing. But I like to stay in tune with it. I like to, see the happenings and everything. You never know when one may just slip in your door accidentally or something.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and I could see myself definitely having a lot of regrettable conversations here as I continue to do my normal thing and move trophy cards as often as I do. So I'm sure I'll be complaining here in the near future.
Oh, okay. About selling them after like
Yep.
too early. Yeah. Okay.
I
Okay. I was curious what you meant by that. But that makes
I am the stepping stone currently of trophy cards.
Yes. Yes. Completely understandable. So, so from there, what else we got?
I think that's about it, but it kind of
Heritage.
Oh, hey, Heritage Auctions. We touched on this last time. There's from when this is posted tomorrow, it will be 10 days left. We see the first edition base set boxes broken the $100,000 mark. The Blastoise,
not that impressive to me.
No, it'll keep going. We'll, again, 10 days. People like to bid in the last minute. The test print Blastoise has broken 10K. It's at 11.5 plus buyer's premium, which is another $2,000. And then the first edition base set Charizard still sitting at 92,000 ish. So, just keeping an eye on that, and we'll definitely be watching those come to an end.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of interesting things in that block. I mean, and we've already touched on this block previously. I don't think the prices have really gotten anywhere close to kind of where we think a lot of them will land. Protostoy still sitting at that 11.5 mark. I actually don't even know if that one will make a lot more of a movement. It could, right? I'm not
based off
probably
of
the right one to make that judgment
I mean,
call.
based off the offers that we hear about, we're very well connected. It should go higher, but again, it's going to go to personal preference on which Blastoise those people want.
Correct. And so we have seen some high offers. There are the 3 that were being publicly offered on that have the magic back. This one does not have the magic back. I do think that does matter and does play a part. I know for a fact that one of the people offering on one of them with the magic back is a pretty prolific magic collector.
Okay.
So I would assume that there is some crossover appeal to them there. That being said, this one has the Cosmos foil, which is also pretty well known within our game. And so it has that distinction from the others. So there's a lot of things going on here. The one thing you always have to question is how legitimate are these offers, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I think no matter what happens, this is really going to give us a clear picture of what the potential looks like on a card like that. It doesn't mean that all the others are going to sell for that, right? There may only be one buyer willing to pay whatever this goes for, but it does show us the potential of what someone could value this card at least at this point in time. So I'm interested to watch it. I don't think I'll probably partake myself. I would love to own that card someday or one of them, but for now, I think I'm just going to watch it myself. So other than that, though, Heritage looks like it's shaping up to be interesting. We'll keep giving you guys the coverage as it gets closer, as it plays out. And then eventually, as we see the final listings and everything, excuse me, we will let you guys know kind of our thoughts on it and all of that and go from there. So from there, we started this with kind of asking people a question. That question being investments. How do you choose what to invest in? When you look at something, how do you decide, is this a good investment? Is it a bad investment? How do you set your projection targets? How do you compare it against other things? So today we want to cover our thoughts on kind of what we look at and what we inspect when it comes to investments. And I actually want to kick it to you to start, Radar. Kind of give us your coverage on when you're looking at a card, when you're going in and you say, this is the one. This one's I'm gonna park my money in this. What are you thinking about when you start to analyze investments and when I'm talking investments, I'm not talking flips. I'm talking things that they could be hold. So like similar to like your Trophy King or something like that. Like things that you're saying, I'm parking my money here with the expectation that this is gonna sit This money's not going to do anything for me for a while other than have that passive growth while I do my other stuff and then cash. What kind of runs through your head with all that?
Well, to start, I think I'm going to have a pretty generic answer here because I think it's important and probably the best advice that, most of us have heard or have been following, and that's buying what you like. So as I have gotten into collectibles, before that, when I first got into eBay, I was reselling things that I had bought at like thrift stores that I personally liked. And I learned really quickly that the things that I like, there's a lot of people that like too. So that simple fact made it easy for me to start my eBay business. And it also made it easy for me to buy things and be okay with them losing value or losing, money on it because I enjoyed having those items. So from an introductory perspective, that's how I get started with any new endeavor is, do I like this? Will I enjoy it if it's worth nothing?
Okay.
Now, to get on a deeper level, which we all want to hear, the next step would be how much knowledge do I have? So looking at the stock market, looking at traditional investments, I know nothing about how that stuff works. I'll go out and find a business that I like. If I find something out in the world that I like, I'll find who makes it, what's the stock ticker, and I basically just go buy that. Do I like it? But if I want to get deeper into it, put a lot of money into it, take that risk, take that dive, I gotta be knowledgeable about it. So
So you're saying you're not willing to invest in something unless you have a pretty deep understanding of it.
100%. 100%.
So you're not willing to ride a wave, essentially. Right now we can take the example Bitcoin just hit 32 point something thousand today. It's up $3,000 today from 29 yesterday. It's up 22,000 in the last 2 months. From 10K, it's on a tear. It very well could go to 35, maybe even 50, 100, a million, whatever. You're not willing, and this is like your knowledge of Bitcoin aside, right? You're not willing to jump on a wave like that unless you have a deep understanding of that.
Right. That's the most dangerous thing that someone could do. Although 90% of my net worth is in Pokemon and collectibles, I'm okay with it. I know that's extremely risky. If I told a financial advisor that, they'd have a heart attack. But this is what I know. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm confident in it. I'm comfortable with owning it. And to be honest, if a lot of it dropped to zero, I would still be okay with owning what I own. I would just go out and get a job or whatever. But riding a wave like Bitcoin, there would be an extent of knowledge where I could jump in and flip, but that's not what we're talking about here. Pokemon right now, we're on one of those kind of waves. So we see a lot of that coming into the hobby of a lot of flipping and without the knowledge and not the avenues to sell, not the network to sell, not the understanding of how to optimize your money in the market. So I just, from a personal standpoint, listening to my dad growing up, listening to whoever, Warren Buffett, reading books, reading articles, I will not invest in anything unless I know a lot about it or have again, that true passion, that do I like it? Yeah. Like when I got into Pokemon, I was buying it because I liked it at first and it became an investment. It grew to that point. So
it didn't start, it grew into
that. Yeah. So something like this, a collectible, I don't think can ever start, in my opinion, it could never start right off the bat as an investment. You have to have some sort of attachment or enjoyment out of it. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just buy stocks, put your money in a safe place or something that something that you understand? So that's really the only avenue that I go in order to pick out an investment. Those general starting points. What about you from a...
So for me, particularly, I agree in terms of the knowledge thing. 100%. I don't like to put my money anywhere that I don't have knowledge. I've heard all kinds of ranges that people make up in terms of you got to study for 3 months, you got to study for 6 months, a year, whatever, until I don't think any amount of time, because people learn at different paces. I think
Mhm.
it's just until you feel that you have a solid enough knowledge base that you feel like you can cover a lot of your liability through your knowledge. So for me, it's when do I feel that I am above average in my knowledge about whatever product I am investing in compared to others
Mhm.
that may be investing in that same item. And once I hit that threshold, I feel like then that additional knowledge above what those people have is what will kind of give me that advantage to position myself correctly. Now, there's a lot of things that I do to determine an investment or things like that, but knowledge is the biggest one. And I try to keep it towards that more. And the reason I say that is because I want to touch on something you said about investing in things you like. That's actually probably one of my least favorite phrases
Mm.
in all of this. Is I think there's like some merit to it. I think there's some merit to like understanding that what you're emotional about, like you said, other people will probably also be emotional about. But the reality is, the second you start investing in things you like, you are attaching emotion to it, which is one of the like least pragmatic things you want to do in investing, because what it does is it creates some artificial attachment to this item that is going to either make it harder to let go, maybe make you make irrational decisions, things like that. There's also just the reality that sometimes the best investments are not going to be things you like, right? Warren Buffett has been one of the biggest crypto deniers out there and has, said that he's super skeptical
Mhm.
of like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And a lot of his critics say, well, you just don't know enough about it. You're too stuck in like the stock market and like your old fashioned ways. And the reality is, right now, he does kind of look like he has egg on his face, because I mean, crypto has recovered. It is doing things, whether it's organic or not. That's like a completely different debate. But like the point is, he didn't like it, and it doesn't make it any less of what is currently happening real. And so, for me, for example, I've talked kind of in the past about how I bought a bunch of first ed Charizards. I don't really have an attachment to first edition Charizard. Like, I think it's cool, but I don't really like it. That, like, if I was gonna buy a card for a collection, that is not what I would go for. And so if I would have kind of stuck tried and true to that, I would have walked into 2020 with like a whole bucket of Jolteons and no first edition Charizards, and that probably would not have panned well for me unless they were all gold stars. So
Mhm.
so like I see where you're coming from, and I've heard that from a lot of people. And I
Yeah.
do like the merit factor of like weighing out, if I got hung with this item and it went to zero, would I be okay with owning it? And I think that that's an okay thing to do, but I almost think it's kind of a cop out, right? If you're doing it as an investment vehicle, you look at it, you say, I want to invest in this. I'm doing it to make money, and I'm going to try to improve. All you're doing is giving yourself a security blanket. And I've even said it before. People hear me in the Discord say, but I bought it because if it goes to zero, I'm okay. And that's just like one of those, like, it's okay, buddy.
Well,
It's
okay.
okay, man.
Yeah.
You may have screwed up, but it's okay.
Right. So here's the thing. Like, I mean, now that you bring that point up and talk about it, I feel like I'm at a therapy session right now.
Okay.
I agree with you. Like we talked about kind of, I think it was our last podcast. I talked about how I have expensive taste.
Mhm.
That carries over to this world of collectibles. So
Yeah.
like this, for example, right here, Backyard Baseball 2001.
Oh, that's awesome.
This has touched the hearts of so many people in our age group. So I went out to find them.
Is that
And
sealed? Just real quick.
this is sealed. I bought a case from the factory. Now, of course, the first thing that you do is think, hey, I'm going to get the video game sealed, done, awesome. But what I do, again, knowledge factor, I looked into the releases, how I could get things. I found out there are cards inside these boxes. Okay. There is a Pablo Sanchez rookie card in here. Pablo Sanchez is probably the top 5 most well-known athletes during our era, at least in my friend group. Everyone knows who Pablo Sanchez is. So instead of just buying something that I liked, being just the game, I went ahead and found an investment opportunity where, hey, I could find some rookie cards that, there's not really a market, but I'm actually I'll be surprised. We'll see what happens once I get them graded and open them, if I open them. But I figured why not pay a little bit more to get a full product with some unique items to make that extra money. Because I do I enjoy having just the game in the shell this way right here. I actually have the original as well. These have cards too, but I can't find them. This is impossible to find. But yeah, it's a lot bigger than just buying what I like. You know, I find something I like, and then again dive into the knowledge factor,
and then analyze it
and figure out what's the best option to buy.
And I think that's a great distinction to make. There's nothing wrong with saying I like this item. Let me see if there's an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Right. Because then you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting to invest in something that you do enjoy that maybe has opportunity, as long as you're able to remove your emotion from it. Right. But it doesn't mean that you're like completely avoiding things that you don't like. It just means, and it doesn't also mean that you're like only investing in things because you like them. It's, I like this thing. Let's see if there's potential behind it. Kind of like what you did there. You liked backyard baseball. So then you researched, is there anything here? Found the rookie cards, went in on it. And I think that's a great distinction to make. And I do like that point. You know, when I say the security blanket thing, it's just because a lot of times we hear, you know, here, I've got a card right here. Well, I really like Sabrina, and this is a first edition gym challenge. WotC's been really hot lately, so I bought this. I think I got a good price on it, but you know, if it goes down or it goes to zero, it's okay because I still really like it. That's a cop out.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you didn't tell me any there, not you, but like people, nothing was said there that was a technical analysis of this card that told me why this card should go up or why it was a good investment beyond the fact that you liked it and that you're also okay with getting hosed on it.
Right.
That is not a good investment recipe. The investment recipe of I like it and I'm okay with getting screwed is like not the formula you want to be using.
Right.
But if you said, "Oh, I invested in this because we saw 10s rocket, but 8s and 9s haven't moved. Gym challenge has been relatively hot. The boxes are skyrocketing, and I paid $40 for this card, and it's $50 raw." True story, actually. That to me screams good technical analysis. That you assessed that its rate of growth has not matched the current rate of everything else. Trends start to lead behind. 8s and 9s take a while, et cetera, et cetera. That I accept. But like, I just wanted to touch on like the whole like security blanket thing. And I don't even think that's the reference you're making. I just hear it a lot. It's
I definitely was. I think, you know, that's always kind of stuck in my head of, yeah, I'd be okay with it. But now that I really think about it, if this stuff dropped to zero, I'd be heartbroken. Like, would I really love this stuff if it was worth nothing? Like, I would rip through it. I would open up all these packs, all these boxes, and then what? Like, you know, so yeah.
Then let me ask you this. So we've almost went full circle here because I kind of like came on your bandwagon of like, I agree that you can use things you like to kind of target maybe where there could be opportunity. But then I make the example with the Sabrina, and now you're almost backtracking saying, you know what? Maybe I did give myself the security blanket and I would actually be upset if this went to zero. So in let's just full circle this conversation. Do you think you can do you think the motto of like invest in what you like should even be used?
I think still yes, to a point, because it really depends on who you are. I mean,
your temperament
and what you like. If you have bad taste, you're not going to make the right decisions. I like to think I have good taste. I have great taste. I mean, look at me. Look.
Just ask him, everybody. Look at him.
I mean, look at these guy. Look at these hats. They'll be for sale soon.
Okay.
I mean, I have
That's a nice taste hat. If you don't own one of those hats, I actually don't own one of those hats. I should take my own investment right there. If you don't own one of those hats, you should get one of those hats.
I think.
Where can they get one?
It's not available yet, but just DM me on Instagram if you want one. Yeah, just message me. We can hook it up.
This is now just turned into a product plug. Does anyone want to buy that Sabrina?
This podcast is sponsored by Pokeradar Shop. But yeah, I think you need to figure out if you have good taste or not, and your taste can change over time.
If you're going to use that,
if you're going to use that model, yeah. I've just always had kind of that rich taste, that eye for I guess, the right things. And a lot of people do. That's why they are what they are, because a lot of people feel that way about it. So it's not like something unique I have, right? This is the majority probably. So yeah, I think it's still a great way to go about it, because it also helps motivate you to learn more for those that struggle with wanting to do school or learn, read an article, do something. If you go into something that you truly enjoy, it makes it so much easier to deep dive into that information and take it all in and absorb it. Like, I could read a book on some random, on how whiteboards were made. There's a whiteboard over there. I would not retain any of that information.
It says to subscribe and like and comment for good luck, but also for our future prosperity. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I would retain zero information. But if I read about the history of who came up with
liking, commenting, and subscribing, he would love it, because it's super important to his future in life.
All right, too much. Of who came up with the idea of Pablo Sanchez, like, I would deep dive into that so hard, and would love understanding it. I'll probably do that after this podcast. But yeah, so there's a lot of balance that has to be done with it, and it's depends on the type of person you are, I guess.
It makes it feel less like work and more like a hobby. And a lot of us tend to gravitate towards this industry in particular because it was a hobby. And then we find, once we get on the, like, this is going to be a full-time job, or, all of my flipping and investing and whatever. I know today we're just talking about investing, but all of that, is a greater picture, is going to, like, facilitate my collecting, because it was a hobby. It kind of takes that enjoyment out of it, because now you're crunching numbers, and now you're always, like, trying to be analytical and figure out all the nuances, instead of just, like, enjoying and appreciating what you're doing. And so this kind of allows you to, if you really do have a passion for it, to kind of maintain and keep that enjoyment. It doesn't mean there's never going to be things you don't like or don't enjoy, but it makes it feel less like work than if you just go out and pick something that you're not really attached to. If you don't like cryptocurrency or financial assets, but you want to invest in Bitcoin, studying and researching and sitting down learning about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency is gonna suck, because you don't care about any of it. But if you like Pokemon, reading about Pokemon, the history of Pokemon, how cards were made, where they were made, how much were made, all that, like, that kind of stuff is gonna fascinate you. You're just gonna want to go, like, it's like when you're on YouTube at 3 a.m. and you start with one video, and then next thing you know, it, like, suggests you like 800 more videos, and now it's like I was gonna say 2 in the morning the next day, like, but it's like 9 a.m. You're supposed to be going to work, and you just binged YouTube all freaking night. Like, it's like that, and like, it helps. It really does help. And so when you say, though, to be knowledgeable, that you want to have acquire knowledge, what kind of knowledge are you looking for in terms of doing an investment?
Knowledge. Here I am in my garage with my Lamborghini. Sorry. So for an investment standpoint, let's specify this down to Pokemon, because that's what we're all here for, right? When it comes down to knowledge of Pokemon, a specific card or item that I'm going to buy, number one, condition. I look at the condition of the item, the card. That's something we all do. I think it's important to have that knowledge to understand the different values that you get out of condition. Like today, I was looking at a huge collection. The guy selling it was not as in tune with cards as I was, and he was thinking there were 8, 9s, 10s, and I'm like, no, these are 6, 7s at best. So having the knowledge of knowing what a PSA 10 looks like potentially versus a PSA 7, that can help you out a ton in either saving your ass for not buying an incredibly large collection or finding a great opportunity to make money. So condition is huge. Number two, I look at kind of the distribution of the item. How rare, how scarce is this item? Is it available on the market? Recent sales? The whole kind of, I guess, numbers behind it. And I know
the historical picture essentially of the item. As much data as you find.
Yeah, so that's very general. Of is it a set card? Is it first edition? Again, how much is available on the market today? How much has been sold recently? What's the graph looking like price point wise?
How much did people care about it before? You
Yeah,
know, we
yeah.
look at evolutions right now, right? Evolution skyrocketed, but how much did people
Well,
care about it
that's
2
even
months
deeper.
ago?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Oh,
So
okay, we're getting
yeah, yeah. So we're going through that process, and then I know you hate this one, but pop report. I gotta check the pop report. I know that's a big thing for you, and hopefully we'll dive into that. But
yeah.
I think that's important to look at because to me it makes me understand, especially for specific cards. Hey, there might be people needing this for their set to complete. It can drive a lot of attention. And I mean, do you want to talk about the pop report at all and why you don't think it's that great?
Okay. So first of all, just to clarify, so kind of there, what you're talking about, in my mind at least, is kind of like the micro level of item analysis, right? So
Mm-hmm.
once you are in something, actually picking a particular item, these are the kind of things you look for. So if you're out there and you're jotting down notes, I would put that under your header of like particular item analysis. You want to start looking at condition, you want to start looking at the history and the data behind that specific item, where it falls in the timeline, what other items it relates to, et cetera, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we want to like kind of zoom out a little bit, more of like not a particular item, but maybe a particular field, particular asset, etc. So before we do that, we'll finish under this one, pop report. I think the pop report, this is one that I get a lot of questions about because every time somebody mentions the pop report in reference to a price, I just roll my eyes. I think the pop report does have value. I want to start with that preface because everybody thinks I think it's just like a huge sham. I think the pop report has value.
Okay.
I think the problem is there's too much reliance on it. There's
Mm-hmm.
too much blind reliance on it. I do not think people understand how to fully utilize the pop report or what the pop report is saying. I think they just say, "Oh, I look up this card and it tells me exactly how many there are and that's all the data and all the story there is." That is not the utility of the pop report. First of all, most of the numbers, I would venture to guess that there are less than 10 cards in the whole pop report where the number in any respective grade is accurate in relation to another grade. For example, if somebody grades a card in a 9 and they crack it out of a slab and put it into and then regrade that same card and it gets a 10, both of those numbers are no longer correct in relation, right? The 10 may be correct, but that 10 was also a 9 at one time. So is that 10 actually a 10? Probably not. And now
Mm-hmm.
the 9 is inflated by 1. Like that kind of thing. I have a hard time believing that there are very many of those because there's no mechanism in place to maintain that system to weed out the ones unless you send in your labels. Nobody does that. Some
Mm-hmm.
people do. They tried for a long time. It doesn't work. And I know that some of the older ones are more fleshed out. I think a lot of people tend to believe that the ones that have higher volumes of cards in them, like first ed base or something like that, tends to be more accurate because of that volume. But even then, I don't think that's accurate. So when somebody comes to me and says, I say, "Oh, why did that Blaziken Hollow on PWCC hit $1,600? That's absurd." And someone says, "Well, look at the pop report. There's only 10." Okay, that's great, dude, but there's only 11 people graded them. Like, that
Yeah.
means nothing. I don't actually know if it's 11. I just made that up, but like, that's my point. Like, it only the picture that the pop report tells you, in my mind, is much better as percentages, right? Like, if you look up the best card I could think of is Plasma Storm Charizard. Notoriously off center. It's 136 out of 135 if you need the number. Notoriously off centered, secret rare, top to bottom. Very difficult to get a 10. Very, very difficult. If you look at the pop report, I do not know how many of those 10s were originally 9s that just got submitted so many times that eventually they floated one into a 10. But
Mm-hmm.
what I do know is I can see the percentage of 10s in relation to the percentage of 9s, right? Because the other thing is the 9 could be inflated because it could be the same one submitted 30 times.
Right.
But that percentage, you can still see that the percentage of 10s to the overall ratio is low. And what that tells me then is that the 10 is hard to get in relation to everything else. If you look at a card like Blaziken and there's only 10 10s, but there's only 20 on the pop report, that actually tells me it's a pretty high number.
Yeah.
And so, like, it wouldn't justify, it just tells me nobody's grading it. So I think the utility of the pop report is to get a deeper analysis of cards in relation to one another, but maybe not a direct card itself. There are very few cards that have a well enough tracked history that I would justify just going strictly off like the number of 10s or the number of 9s to give merit to how valuable a card is. And there are some, right? Eevee Black Star promo, I think, is one
Mm-hmm.
that I would give merit to. Dark Persian, no HP, I would
Yeah.
probably give merit to. Like those kind. There
Yeah.
are some. There's always
Yeah.
exceptions to the rule. But I think as a whole, I think the value of the pop report is finding cards in relativity
Mm-hmm.
to one another, or even maybe within themselves, but not just pinpointing certain numbers to prices, which is most of the time how I hear the pop report being used.
Right.
I mean,
And
would
yeah,
you
I
agree,
think
disagree?
no, I agree completely. I think you explained that well. There's some other points. I don't really know how to flesh them out correctly, so I'm not going to speak on it. But for season collectors, I would hope that when a lot of people just say that, but for season collectors like myself, yeah, I look at a whole plethora of numbers. I'm not looking at that specific thing. This is exactly where we tie in that what you brought up of, did people care about this before? So it's gathering all that information, from those cards, from that pop report, because it is helpful whether or not it's a lot or a little of information that you can take in something from there, and utilizing that correctly, and not looking at it as with blinders on, as this is the number, this is what it is, because like you said, we understand that people crack cards out, try to regrade, and there's a lot of inflation, mostly in the 9s and 10s, that we just don't know. So from season collectors, we understand that, we know that, and I'd like to think we all take that into consideration. So yeah, but the masses that are just getting in and entering and look at it that way, I agree completely on that.
And I tend to find that the people that I'm like making this argument to are probably, I wouldn't even say like newer people. I would say just people that maybe haven't even considered this, right?
Okay.
And that's why I think most people that have been around for quite a while, or are seasoned investors, or do tend to have conversations like this, have crossed this bridge, whether they've encountered it personally with an instance where they kind of got burnt because they did just trust the number, or they've kind of done the due diligence to see how the system works and where its flaws lie. And there's an example I want to give to everyone. I hear it all the time. Glaceon and Leafeon level X, how high a price they are in a 10. They're hitting like 5 digits. And part of that to me, like, I can justify it in my head, right? Evolutions, low era, not as much pull, blah, blah. But then part of me is like, but there was also just a period where people did not grade level X's at all. How many of those are just sitting in binder collections because people there wasn't the value? I remember having an Uxie level X BGS 9 graded at Nationals one year. I took it into Collector's Cash to sell. And Bayman and I laughed about because I got it in a trade. Bayman and I laughed, he's the owner, about somebody that, like, who would even grade that card, right? Today, if you have an Uxie level X, which was like a very popular card from that era, graded in a 9, that would be an extremely lucrative card that people would want to own. Back then, people laughed about why you would grade a card like that, because people just didn't grade stuff like that. So my question is, you look at the pop report, you say, well, Glaceon and Leafeon are low, man. That price is justified. But how many of them are waiting to be graded because they just haven't yet? How many people saw this spike start to run, sent them off, and they just haven't got them back because they're in purgatory of PSA? Nobody knows. And like that is kind of the example of like where I tend to lead people when I say like, this is how I analyze these things. So I agree. I get some flack for always saying I'm not a fan of the pop report. The reason I say that is because I think to utilize the pop report correctly actually takes a pretty like above average level of skill that you can do over time. And I think a lot of people don't put in the effort to learn how to utilize it well. I think there is merit to it, and I would love to see, CGC eventually bring out their pop report and expand so we can use those in conjunction, especially for like modern, because they're getting a lot of the modern. Because I do think that there is value and utility. I just think it's maybe not quite where people think it lies.
Yeah, yeah, and
that is why.
Yeah, that's perfect. I hate the whole like tedious work of explaining why things work. And actually, if I were to sit down and talk to somebody about that, I don't think I'd be able to explain it, because to me, it's just like a natural thing at this point. And just the way I look at it, I don't even know how I could explain it. But yeah, the way I look at it, I'm able to take in a lot more information. So even if I didn't know, I wouldn't want to share that with somebody, because it would be basically an algorithm to figure out what to buy. And that's a very valuable thing. So that's why you guys come here to listen.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Been taking notes.
That's right. So let's talk a little bit about like what new investments you're looking at and why. If you're open to sharing this, I mean, I am. I've been talking about it a lot. You see it behind me.
Tell us what those are. Some people may not know. You're pointing back there. It's a little small. Some people might not know what that is. They should, but explain it.
Yeah.
What are we looking at?
We're going to see a lot more of this here soon, at least on my channel. This
Definitely
is
not on mine. We'll see it on his.
So this kind of falls into your place where like you want to collect, right? I got to that point with Pokemon where I can't collect this stuff. I need to find something to collect. And although I've been doing this since I started, Dragon Ball Z is my favorite anime of all time. I actually like it more than Pokemon personally. And
I believe you said that. We just lost all our viewers.
I've slowly been buying some of it throughout time, but have recently put in a lot of money, not only to have it from a, to hit some personal collection standpoints, but because I see it as an investment opportunity.
Are you willing to define a lot? You don't have to, but are you willing to?
In the past couple weeks, I've probably spent 15,000 on Dragon Ball Z. In the past few months, maybe close to double that.
Okay.
So I've
just like sealed product, cards, everything.
Sealed product. The specific cards like the ultra rares that you are looking for. The main set card. The Charizards. I'm really comparing everything as close as I can to Pokemon, where I pick out. I'm learning as much as I can right now. I don't have enough knowledge on it, which is something we discussed about. So I'm really relying on the I like this purchase at the moment, but I'm working on the knowledge aspect so that.
So does that scare you that you've already dumped that kind of funds into it and are more relying on the emotion versus the knowledge part? Because you'd spoke earlier about how knowledge is super important to you.
Yeah.
Does that do you hesitation in that regard?
Personally, right now, no. I have a huge amount of confidence in Dragon Ball Z. The Dragon Ball Super game is very popular. I know nothing or little about it. I don't really enjoy the cards personally myself. I've opened some. I don't like. It's busy. It's a lot going on. But this stuff, this is the first of Dragon Ball Z. It ties directly to the anime, which has a large die-hard following. I mean, DBZ Abridged, the parody channel show that they did a long time ago on YouTube, they each have like 10, 15 million views each, and it's a parody of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I've seen it.
They're hilarious, and Dragon Ball Z just has a giant fan base. And although I don't think this will ever get anywhere near Pokemon levels, I think that there's a huge awareness issue with this stuff. And as soon as that happens, like it's going to get to a point where I couldn't lose money. Like, in my opinion, I just think it would never go down a certain point once, because it's so early. It's so unestablished. There's so much, like I've been diving into forums, old forums and collectors of this stuff. And there's just not that much knowledge out there, which that scares me. Because that's one thing where even with Pokemon, there's a lot of things we don't know, but there's enough of it to drag people in to learn about, enjoy, and all that. With Dragon Ball Z, if
someone wants to get in, there's no knowledge.
There's no knowledge, and there's
turns them off.
Yeah, and there's also no product. Now, I love that it's super rare, super hard to find, but there's not enough to go around for people to buy. So how many people will really get into it? Will they try and fail too quick because they'll find something they want and can't get it? There's a huge.
So then they just instead don't do it at all.
Exactly. Right? So there's a huge kind of a gatekeeper type scenario here with Dragon Ball Z that I see as a potential issue. But again, it's such a popular brand, popular. Just they're still alive today. I'm sure it's being made by a different company, and it's a whole different card game. Pokemon
that makes Super.
Yeah, this was Score. Score made the old.
Correct.
And there's just so many interesting things going around it. Like, there's no mint cards. The quality of the printing and cutting was awful. I open up packs. There's not a chance I'm going to get a 10. Like, it's hilarious. So there's a lot of barriers of knowledge like that are going to scare off a lot of people. And I'm hoping
Yeah.
to share this information and knowledge over the course of the next few months as I go on this journey of finishing my Dragon Ball Z collection and building an investment in it. You know, I'm going to share that with people because people are interested in it. But
So, would you say right now you're kind of in a hybrid of it being an investment, that it may still be more collection oriented, but if you can find excess of something, you'll pick it up with the hopes that then maybe you could turn that into funneling the rest of your collection or something along those lines?
yeah, absolutely. Because I'm big on the boxes. I love the sealed boxes, and I have a few missing pieces that I need to finish. But I'm also very confident in sealed product. That's where I got my start with Pokemon.
Yeah.
So when I see them pop up, if it's an opportune cost or price point, I'm gonna pick it up. And
Yeah.
so I'm always keeping my eye out on stuff like that. You know, there's a from a collector standpoint, like I really want to collect entire binder sets, get full foil sets,
Yeah.
do all that. But
Mhm.
I don't see a lot of value in that, even in the long term with Dragon Ball Z. I think it's going to be go in on just top tier item type thing. So that's what I'm going to stick to. I think that's the safest choice. That's kind of what I do again with a lot of things, like whatever random items that I have here we'll go over. But you know, you start at the top and work your way down if you have that ability to collect, because again, it's all a financial individual situation. So I'm buying what I like, but I'm also buying things that I truly think are good investments.
Mhm. So, what percentage of your portfolio would you say is or will eventually be, when you're done, Dragon Ball Z product compared to everything?
As of today, now I guess
Rough estimate.
I'll throw this out there. A few of my bigger Pokemon pieces are moving out. That we've talked about. The Trophy King is
Well,
being
yeah, I know, but the public doesn't.
the Trophy King
I'm
is
sure
gone.
that you will give the public a better introduction to that
I'll say the Trophy Kangaskhan is being sold. It's in process. So you heard it here first. But so once that's kind of off the books, Dragon Ball Z will be probably 15% of my collectible inventory. So
actually a
significant.
pretty substantial percentage.
Yeah, significant.
You know, yeah.
And
I would like to think most people don't do high risk anything higher than 10. I'm not sure if you would classify this as high risk or not, but 15%, I consider that a pretty significant chunk of a portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. And I plan on boosting that up to about 25%.
Okay.
There's a whole market around it that has not been built, and I think it'd be interesting to start building that market from a graded standpoint. I need to. There's not really any out there. PSA, I don't even think grades some of these cards for some reason. So that's another hurdle. So Beckett is kind of like the only place to go for Dragon Ball Z score, which is very interesting, and I'm curious to see how that will work out. But I'm willing to take that risk because it's on something that I enjoy, and I know there's a ton of people that love Dragon Ball Z. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not super privy. I actually had a lot of those cards growing up. I was kind of like the only one of my friend group that was into it, so I just kind of bought and collected on my own. We actually were talking about these the other day, and I found out when I was a kid, I actually had a pretty rare card, and
You had the Grail.
probably bent it up and turned it into a card house, and then threw it away. So that's really unfortunate. But that's just kind of like back in the day what we did. A lot of that stuff probably has been lost to time, and so. I don't personally know as much about it, which is why, I kind of made the joke. You guys won't see it on my channel. It's not because I think he is wrong. I have not done nearly enough research to corroborate or conflict that assessment. But for me, it's just not where I want to go right now. I've got my feelers on a lot of things and a lot of things brewing. And so,
Which are?
I actually have what?
What are those things that you have?
Yeah.
Brewing?
So I actually, the Discord found this one out first. Shameless plug, join our Discord.
Link below.
Link in the below. Yeah, link in the below.
Link
Link below in the description. I was trying to speed it up. But I actually have been pretty aggressive on the Naruto CCG. So I first had this inclination about, oh man,
Naruto.
are you selling?
Naruto.
Are you
No.
selling
Heck no. It's my only Naruto box.
Wow, look at him, guys. He's holding that on me. Dang. Okay. Anyways, I actually don't have that one. So I actually had my first inclination of this about a year ago, where I had considered going in on it. I had kind of seen the trend of Pokemon happen the way it did. I saw Yu-Gi-Oh starting to pick up. I went out and bought a bunch of like the GBI Secret Rare God cards. We've now seen that those have rocketed. Um, and so I'm always kind of looking for that next thing. We're kind of in this era almost with collectibles where people are starting to get nostalgic about everything, it seems like. And it's just kind of across the board. We're seeing, I've mentioned on the podcast before, I bought a first Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone book. I think I would say it's in like fair condition. I think it was like 7,100 or 7,600, something like that. I'd have to look because it was a conversion thing. And now we're seeing them in that same condition go 12, 13,000, right? Like clearly I am not, a few friends that also got them are not in the same, like, we're not the only ones thinking the same thought process of like, what did we grow up with that we were nostalgic about? Like that process is happening for a lot of people because we're seeing collectibles across the board rocket. But the thing for me that really stood out about Naruto is that this game, even though it died, and it died, unfortunately, the game was actually pretty healthy. It was actually and this is kind of one of the things I liked about it, is the reason it died was because it had a lawsuit over the art assets between Bandai and I think it was Shonen Jump and things like that. That's why the last set they ended up using video game art instead of the actual like manga art and things like that. And so the game didn't really die on its own hands. It didn't die because people lost interest. It died because of legal issues, right? The politics behind it.
Interesting.
And the game has actually had a relatively healthy interest behind it for being a dead game. You think dead games and you think most of it's worth nothing. People really don't care about it much anymore. Booster boxes, since the game died, have retained value. There are a series of alternate art cards from set 20 that they only made 20 of each and randomly inserted them in booster packs that are still thousands of dollars a piece. They're almost like lottery cards at this point, and there's no guarantee that they all have been pulled. There is no data out there. There used to be a forum thread that tried to track them. They could never get all of them completed. And you know, so there is still that chase, but there's also still a lot of health around the brand in general. Boruto came out, the old creator of the manga just took it over and is now like, people are really starting to get interested because they're hoping that it's going to revert back to kind of the way Naruto used to be. And there's still a really healthy market around the competitive game. People still play, people still post tournament reports to YouTube. People,
Really?
Even though the game is not going, there's still been an active community that has been making um their own sets. They've made
Oh,
like additional sets to keep playing the game, essentially, which is an
wow.
interesting thing because I'm actually seeing this in Fire Emblem as well. Fire Emblem Cypher is ending in February. Last set came out last November. And yet the community is still now making their own custom sets, playing their tournaments and everything. And I think that's really interesting is kind of like how much of a market could spur. I still, I joined a Facebook group for the buy sell trade just to kind of look at it. And this is kind of going into that bigger topic of like knowledge acquisition, right? Going into it, figuring out what all is there. What is there that could be worked with? I'm starting to see people in the buy sell trade group BGS grading their card. I'm starting, just the ones they like, the ones that they just kind of want to have in their collection.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see sealed product is just gone. I mean, I have spent probably in the last 3 days $13 to $14,000 on Naruto sealed, and that was pretty much me digging deep,
Yeah.
exhaustively cleaning out the market. When I say digging deep, I'm talking like page 40 of Google digging deep, and I actually did find one on 39.
Wow.
But I mean, steel product is gone, but there's still a massive desire for it. I posted up in a Facebook group, all the sets I'm looking to buy, willing to pay market value, etc. And all the comments, oh yeah, I'm looking to buy those too, man. Good luck. Like pretty much like throwing shade, like, and because they're just not out there. And the fact that there is still this interest around it, and I think we're transitioning to a time where even if you don't want to buy every Naruto card or you don't want to buy every Dragon Ball Z card, you may want that one Trunks card you had growing up. You may
Hmm.
want that one Hinata or Naruto card that you had growing up just to kind of put in your collection and plug it in there. You
Yeah.
know, that one thing you like. We've talked about this before with graded video games. You know, most people are not going to go out and buy hundreds of sealed graded games like they will buy hundreds of cards,
Right.
but they may have that one copy of that one game that just really called out to them. For me growing up, it was Tamba. I own a 9.8 A++. For you, it was Melee. You
Mm.
own 2 copies of Melee. You know, we each have those games, and so people gravitate to maybe just owning the one or two that they want, but that's enough health to keep the market going. And I think we could see the same thing in a lot of these like dead or sub-tier card games that are kind of just hanging on, that people buy that one or two things, but that's all it takes to keep the market spurring. It doesn't mean you're going to be slinging out orders every day in it, but it can be supplementary to the bigger picture that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I went into this, a lot of it was just one of the things I really wanted to touch on with investments that we haven't mentioned yet, kind of just haven't plugged it in, is one of the things I look at when I make an investment is major risk assessment. What are my absolute downsides? What are the percentage chances that those downsides happen? Where could I be putting my money elsewhere? Are those downsides better? Are my upticks better? Will I enjoy it better? Does it diversify me out? And I can keep going on, right?
Hmm.
Hundreds of variables. But these are the kind of questions that you want to start to ask yourself when you look at this. You know, let's go back to this Sabrina card. And here I've got a reverse hollow full heal from Legendary Collection. Say my choices were these two cards that invest in this or invest in that. Start to ask yourself, is the liquidity higher here or is it higher here? Do more people like Sabrina or do more people like full heal energy? That's a no-brainer question. But like those are the kind of things you ask, here, what's my downside? This card, $10 raw, $90 graded. Downside, if for some reason it collapsed to raw price, unlikely, but if it did, I lose $80. This card collapses, from its raw price down, I lose $40. And start weighing those things out. And that's what I did with Naruto. And the
Hmm.
reality is, none of it's being printed anymore. The stuff keeps gravitating upwards.
Hmm.
And clearly, I mean, you put the game on its deathbed, and yet there's still interest in it.
Yeah.
So it's not like it has a lot lower that it can really go in terms of like publicity. There virtually is none, and
Hmm.
yet there's still a market. So what if there is publicity? We've talked before about YouTubers opening product. What if one big person goes and opens a Naruto box in front of 100,000 people, and
Hmm.
1% of those people, 1,000 of them, say, you know what, I'd like to open one of those,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, there's no product left, so they can't. So now they're all competing to get the 10 boxes on the market, and everything goes up because they just want that experience,
Right.
right? And so that is kind of where I'm sitting at with Naruto. I did buy a singles lot just because I thought it was stupid price based on what I've seen. That may be more for enjoyment, maybe going a little too deep down the
Yeah.
rabbit hole. We'll see. But most of my position, I would say, 13,500 of the 14 has been in sealed product.
Hmm.
And I'll probably even open some of that on my channel just a little bit, just a tad, just to get a little taste for you guys. But for
Yeah.
the most part, that's been kind of, where I look at, what I analyze and everything when I look at this stuff. And that, I think it's similar. Yeah, look at that.
I bought some stuff to
Yeah,
open.
mine isn't even in yet.
Yeah, no, it's that's kind of this. Do you have that same fear though that I have with Dragon Ball Z of no product available? No product available. Will that scare away a lot of people from potentially getting into it? But I guess when it comes down to it, if there is just two people going at a bidding war against each
Yeah.
other, it's that's all you need. So
And the thing I want to know, I just really want to quickly touch on this. One thing we've talked about before is graded cards, kind of the volume that we're seeing in graded cards in terms of like Pokemon and stuff, and how,
yeah,
Charizard comes out and everyone says it's a no-brainer, just grade it. And everyone's doing the exact same thing. And how, if any of you guys have watched my 12-part, any of it, CGC return video that I did, the big one, some of the cards I graded in there, I talked about how they're like cards that people are not grading. They're just
hmm,
lower tier cards. But my logic is that if I'm the only one that has it and there's two people that want it, they have to go through me. Or
hmm,
even just, one person, we meet up. Versus even if there's 10,000 that want it, but 100,000 people grading it, there's not enough hands to take it off the market. I think it's the same thing with some of this less lucrative stuff. There may be a less population interested in it, but if there's also less people doing exactly what you're doing, you kind of control that zone.
hmm,
And, so you don't need you don't need Dragon Ball Z to be Pokemon tier blow up. Everybody's talking about it. You just need there to be a pool of interest that says, hey, I also want some of that stuff, and says, hey, Pokemon Radar is the guy that can supply it to me. And it works. And that's kind of like weighing out that. So one of the things out there, if you guys are looking at, making an investment or making an acquisition or even purchasing for your collection that maybe someday you think you may want to sell, is think, how many other people are doing the exact same thing versus what I'm doing, and how many people will I have percentage wise compared to everyone else? If there's 2 people selling this and 4 people out there that want it, you still have 2 to 1. If there's, 1 million people doing this and only 500,000 want it, now you've got a half. And it's a comparison. I do think though that one thing we should both specify is that these are probably classified as higher risk in our portfolio compared to what we're doing, elsewhere. There, my percentage for Naruto is not 15 to 25%. I don't think it ever will be. And I am in quite a few things with video games, the Harry Potter books, Pokemon, all that. But it is.
What percent is it?
I have a range of my portfolio that I do high risk, generally about 10%. It definitely is encapsulated within that 10%, without a doubt. Do not take this as me saying, guys, Naruto's the next big thing. Everybody needs to blow all their money on it. You're gonna be a millionaire. That's not what I'm saying.
Right. No, so. Yeah. I mean, I had this conversation with my brother today about Dragon Ball Z. I was like, hey, this is what I'm buying now. Like, I think there's a real opportunity there. And he was like, well, what should I buy? And I said, look, dude, like, this is a huge risk. He doesn't do this for a living, but he enjoys the same things that I do. And every now and then, like, if there's a good opportunity, like, I'll throw one his way. And he likes collecting this stuff too. Like, he really does enjoy it. But when it comes to the point of him asking me basically financial advice on what to buy, like, this is my brother. Like, even I am extremely confident in myself with buying this stuff, but I am not going to pass that along to him. Be like, here's what I'm looking at. If you want to do it, go for it, but consider it gone. Like, this is a high risk move, because same with Naruto. Does PSA grade Naruto cards? I see them in Beckett.
PGS does, but PSA does not.
Yeah, so it's just like there's these weird hurdles that we haven't experienced before, and it's honestly building a market. Like, once I send off, I have maybe 50 Dragon Ball Z cards. I think there's 1 or 2 Beckett graded cards on eBay, and they've been sitting there for a very long time. I think what they're selling is a little. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm taking a huge gamble, a huge risk on this. Yeah. And I hope it works out. But if not, like, that was fun.
And we're not financial advisors, so we're not going to tell you where to put your money anyway. It's the same reason he wouldn't tell his brother. But even in that more casual instance, it's dude, this is high risk. This is something where in that percentage of our portfolio that we flag as high risk, we say, if it, like, there is a very real possibility that it goes to 0. Now, that is different than saying I'm okay with it going to 0. I'm never okay with anything I buy going to 0. That is never the goal. But I do have the practicality that, in that any time in perpetuity, it could go to 0, or the liquidity could go to 0. And even if the value is, there's just nobody to buy it. And that to have that reality that portion of my portfolio could very well become defunct. Now, I don't think anyone has ever collected, invested, flipped, whatever, that didn't have something go south. Sometimes you're just going to have the dart miss the board, no matter how much research you put in. I think we've both been trying to cram as much due diligence into this. And, I wish I would have pulled my trigger on Naruto a year ago when I first felt that inkling, or even 6 months ago when I felt it even harder. But I just didn't have that knowledge base built up. I wasn't comfortable. In fact, even yesterday, before I pulled the trigger on a bunch of product that I brought somebody into a call with me that I knew had a ton more knowledge, and pretty much had them like give me the full extent 101. And a lot of that was re-verifying what I'd already learned, but some of it was absolutely new stuff that I needed that clarification on. And had I made that jump a year ago, would I be even more ahead of where I am now? Probably, but that would have been on a gut feeling, and I might as well just go roll the dice at a casino and have a lot more fun doing it.
Right.
So
That very well could have been during the same time that you decided to buy those Charizards, and you would have lost out on that
correct.
opportunity, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
And so
know,
it's the opportunity cost weight,
yeah,
right? At the time, Charizard, first ed base, early Watsy. I jumped into Jungle and Fossil before a lot of people did. So even though they've come back down, my cost average on them is just so low
yeah.
that even with the retrace, I'm ahead. Like those plays made more sense than Naruto at the time. Now, would I have done well at Naruto? Had a position that most people wouldn't even be able to contest because there's no product? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it still just would not have outpaced those,
Right. And
even
that's,
though it seemed great.
yeah, that's the most important thing. Well, not the most important. That's one of the important things we're discussing here today. Like I have been slowly picking up Dragon Ball Z over time, and
Mhm.
it never made sense for me. There was stuff available over the years that I just didn't buy. It's because it didn't make sense to buy because I was in on Pokemon and I had more confidence and understanding of that was going to make me money, and that's where I put the money. So sure, yeah, again, I could have twice of what's in this cabinet, maybe 3 times more, but it's yeah, it's that opportunity cost is a very,
Mhm.
very important thing.
Yeah. So as a whole, I know, like
That was a
for me,
lot.
yeah, that was a lot. I think there's probably even more there that we unpacked than maybe what we even anticipated we were going to unpack. But kind of when
Yeah,
you just get rolling, you just want to go. And we could literally go all night,
yeah.
right? I'm sure that this topic will come up again with regards to specific situations. There's a lot there to unpack, guys. And as always, if you ever have questions, again, we are not licensed professionals. If you have investment portfolio advice, anything like that, you want accountant, attorney, somebody licensed for it. But if you have questions about kind of what we explained here, our thought processes, or why we do what we do, hit us up in Discord, hit us in our DMs, leave a comment below. We're pretty responsive. We'll try to get back with you because there is a lot there, but we do hope this helps. We hope that, kind of showing you different things that we think about in the process and just even the way we think about things will help you kind of decide, are you thinking about things the right way? Even if you don't agree with our assessment, because
Hmm.
that's always debated among everyone. But are you asking the right questions, even if maybe your conclusions are not right? Because
Hmm.
that's always can be a learned thing. But if you're not asking the right questions to begin with, you can never get the right answers. So for me, that's pretty much what I've got on that one. But we still have one little thing here that the viewers seem to actually pretty enjoy, and that would be
I still
the
think
blip and the blep.
the blips and the bleps. I still think we enjoy this more than our viewers, but it'll catch on.
I don't know, man. I've gotten a lot of people that really like the blips and the bleps. I don't
All
know.
right.
We'll see. Okay, let us know. Do we enjoy the blips and the bleps more than you guys? If you're even here at this point in the hour and 12-minute podcast, let us know if you enjoy it as much as we do. Because we're gonna keep doing it regardless, but
Oh
you
yeah,
should still let us know.
I think they're awesome. So
Yeah,
why
what do
don't
you got?
do I start? I always start.
You start it.
All right. First blip. Any vintage CCG product with the Wizards of the Coast logo is a good buy right now.
Interesting. As you just keep showing them why I'm trying to not respond. All right. The fact This is my blep, my first blep. And as always, guys, remember the rules. Whichever blip or blep, only one from all 6 that you like or want to hear about more, leave it in the comments. Let us know so we can talk about it next week and we'll kind of break it down and analyze it. But the fact that we have not heard about anything about Pokemon Snap 2 since it was announced is a super bad sign.
Okay.
Okay. I accept.
Uncut sheets are overrated. As you swivel slowly. I'm sorry.
It's okay, man. I understand. All right. My next one, the best Pokemon game, mainline, catch 'em and whatever, is Pokemon Soul Silver. The best non-mainline game is Pokemon Puzzle Challenge.
I've never played Soul Silver. Number 3, We deserve more views.
Hey, I'm not even saying quiet about that one. I actually don't disagree. But our viewers have actually told us the same thing. So where are they at? Share it. Share it. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I know I'm not supposed to be replying, but I'm doing it anyways. I'm breaking the rules. That's what I do.
MySpace.
All right. My last one. I'm reading this off a thing, by the way. I memorize them. We are at a very high risk of entering what I would consider in the future, like looking back, to be labeled as the junk slab era, similar to what in baseball they consider the junk wax era. And if you guys don't know what the junk wax era, if you just type junk wax into Google, it will tell you, and you should be able to make the parallel. But if you want to hear more, put it in the comment section. I'd love to discuss this one more, so put it in the comment section, baby.
I'm pretty sure you're gonna win the blip blep of the week there with that last one. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to put some pretty controversial ones that people may want to hear more about. I want to win. Didn't you win the last one? I feel like you won the last one.
I did. It's 1-1 right now.
Yeah, I need to win this one, guys. It's 1-1.
I also won best title on the last video, so it's 2-1.
You did. You won best title because you actually went with the title we said we were gonna go with. I tried to like be crafty and go with something else. Did not pan out at all. So
yeah,
that's unfortunate. But maybe I'll win this week.
That's the show though today, guys.
Is it?
I think so.
No, I had a bunch more stuff.
No, you don't. Get out of here. I need to go to bed.
Nah, you guys are tired. You're not even here anymore. All two of you that are left, thank you so much. We really do appreciate your support. You're the OGs. Let us know if you're one of the last two here. Let us know.
Don't type first. Type last. You know, everyone likes to type first comment.
Because then nobody would ever type. Oh, okay, we're ending this. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching another episode of Collectible Conversations. Again, coming at you every single Wednesday and Sunday at what time do we post them?
Noon EST.
Noon EST.
Eastern time.
Eastern Standard. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see y'all next time.
Here we have a wild Squeaks in his natural habitat.
I was just thinking.
A dark green room.
All right, I hit record. I'm ready to start whenever you are.
I've been recording for 11 minutes.